What is up, guys? Ian from Around the Ball, and we've got Roman on again. Back to back weeks, right? We did it last week.
Yeah, we did.
Cool. So, a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of stuff is going to happen, and a lot of stuff is not happening because the Jags are on a bye week. Um, Roman, let's start off with you. And you had the first game of the week Thursday night. Talk us through that a little bit.
Can I just say Joe Flacco now?
Yes.
You know, with Joe Flacco playing the Steelers over 20 times in his career, a guy like him is going to know what they're going to throw at you. And when you have two wide receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they're going to do whatever they want against you. And the Steelers over the past few years have had no answers. Doesn't matter who's been on Jamar Chase. Doesn't matter if it's Joy Porter, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Dante Jackson from a year before. Doesn't matter. And then when the best, the worst run defense in the league, able to run all over you. Joe Flacco can do whatever he wants against you. You're not going to win that game. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, I mean, that was good for them that they were able to get Joe Flacco. I love what Mike Tomlin said. Like you don't do that in the division. You don't give the a divisional opponent a starting quarterback. Like he said, they trusted him enough to be the day one starter,
Yeah,
and they
and
trade him inside the division to a QB needy team.
yeah, you'd think that with with the Browns and the Bengals, you'd think like, oh, the Bengals are just going to tank and to the end of the year, they're not going to stay afloat. They're going to keep Jake Browning, and then now you get a starting quarterback, and now it's different now for them because now you're sitting at what 3-4 through 7 games, and if you guys just can, if they can stay at that level of 500, and Joe Burrow will be back, I mean they always have a shot to get in. Unfortunately,
Yeah, and that's kind of what me and your dad were talking about a couple weeks ago, where it's like, how many games do the Bengals have to win with Joe Burrow out for him to come back in December and potentially make a wild card?
it's hard for me to say
I've
because
always said at least four, because then they're six and whatever they are. He comes back December. You've got maybe 3 or 4 games. You can maybe get 9 wins, maybe 10 wins. But it's going to be tough because that's the timeline. He could end up being out longer. They might not be able to activate him until playoff time if they made it. So it's still up in the air. It's no guarantee. But I think if Joe Flacco can win them 4 games, the potential's there.
well, what version of Joe Flacco heading is the question.
Well, it's interesting you said that because I looked up his stats, and almost every time he's played a game one or a game two, he's been solid. But then, like, once he's on game three with a team or game four with a team, that's when he starts to go back down. Because, that's how it is. The Steelers obviously had a little bit of time to prep for Joe Flacco, but not. They had one game of tape to watch Joe Flacco and the Bengals offense. So it's not like they had. Yes, he's been in the league a long time. Yes, he's played against them a lot, but he's never played against Joe Flacco in the Bengals offense. So it wasn't really that much to go
Apparently, you can't stop the plan either. Like Tomlin's really has been able to make halftime adjustments, but the fact that you guys can't stop slant routes or even like out routes, and you know where they want to go. They targeted what Jamar Chase 20 something times,
Yeah, I think he ended the game with like 16 catches or something.
and at that point, you know what they're doing. Why don't you do something? Like, and you had no answer the entire game. Hard for me to believe that I, I I don't know if that's Tomlin. I think it's Terrell Austin personally because you're the defensive coordinator, dude. You go up against these guys year after year. You should know by now, watching tape, what they want to do. Because Joe Flacco knows what you want to do. He's played you. He played you over 20 times.
Yep.
So it's like, where do you go now? What do you do now? especially with Terrell Austin. Because I'm fortunate. I want to say I'm done with him personally.
I mean, sorry, I thought I was unmuted and then I muted myself. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's what? This is his third year as a defensive coordinator.
Yep.
I find it hard to believe that they're going to extend him. I just one, it's Mike Tomlin's team, so I mean, you can kind of recycle defensive coordinators and be okay because it's still Mike Tomlin's defense, you know. So like, it plays a factor in who calls the plays and kind of the identity a little bit, but I think you're not gonna fall off. Now, granted, the defense hasn't been great. It's been great at turnovers, but
Yeah.
they're kind of like that bend don't break. But I wish I could. It's like a rubber band though. They're bending too much. Like they're not even. They're like you could stretch a rubber band forever, and that's kind of what they're doing. They're just kind of bending so much that it almost snaps.
Well, it's funny because when you watch them, like, when they're getting sacks, when they're getting turnovers, when they're getting to the quarterback, they play relatively well. Now, when you had games of not no, not pressuring the quarterback, not getting turnovers, not getting the sacks, you see them just collapse. Like it's been bad. Like they've been able to cover it up, like their miscues. Like against Cleveland, they played a rookie quarterback. They played well for 3 quarters against Minnesota. They played really well, getting pressure, intercepting Wentz, forcing fumbles. And then what happens is when they have been able to do that, look at what Justin Fields did week 1. Look what Sam Darnold did week 2. Look what Joe Flacco did this past week. You notice when they have these bad games, they haven't been able to, except for the Sam Darnold game, because besides that Caleb Johnson thing, which it's in the past now. But
Yeah, I mean,
like
you
when you,
guys were in that game. That was definitely not a. You guys had that game pretty well wrapped up, honestly. Like I know it was a close game, but that Caleb Johnson fumble in the end zone. Well, it wasn't even really a fumble in the end zone. It was not.
it was
Yeah,
a miss.
and I mean that's on the coaching in my opinion because the kickoff rules are different from college to the NFL, and it was very apparent Caleb Johnson had no idea that he needed to go back there and grab that football and kneel it.
They were only down 3 at that point. They were down 3, then they went down 10. It was, it was bad. But like I said, like they would like in that game they were the forced turnovers to make Darnold uncomfortable. But unfortunately, when it mattered, they just couldn't get pressure on Darnold, JSN down the middle on Ramsey. You know, so it's been when they haven't been able to produce that, they've been so below average. They can't even be average or below average. Like they look like Justin Fields just got benched this past week after his poor performance against Carolina, and then but in week 1 he played all out. Like he played like a star, and it's hard to fathom that, just seeing that, as like especially for me, because I love the Steeler defense coming up clutch for them, and then seeing what Justin Fields did to Justin Fields now is like, you guys really allowed that?
Yeah, and I mean, you've heard what the owner's been saying about him too. Like the owner has like zero confidence in Justin Fields, which out of everybody, I mean, I know the owner doesn't make the decisions at the football level really, but you can tell he's advocating for Justin Fields not to play another game.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That it's just like you saw what he did week 1, you're like thinking, oh, whatever, and then they almost beat Tampa Bay, they lose against Carolina. I mean, you'd think that there's a shot there for them, and then they just couldn't do anything. Like it's hard for me to see like the Jets play like this with Fields. And then you saw him the first 6 games as a Steeler when they were 4-2. It's like, wow, like look what Tomlin's able to do with quarterbacks. Or you can say Arthur Smith, because Arthur Smith has been there to help. Like he looked really well with Russ the first 6 games, 5-1, with Fields 4-2, 6 games, Rodgers at 4-2 through 6 games. So I do give props to Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good way of, I mean, you can even look at it his time in Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill. You know, he kind of revived his career. He was on the way out the door. They go on a whim. They grab Mike Tannehill. They make the AFC Championship, I believe, or they made the AFC Divisional round. One of the two. They got the number one seed.
AFC Championship game.
Yeah. So, and then he goes to Atlanta. He's got Matt Ryan. He's got Desmond Ritter, which Desmond Ritter, he wasn't a great quarterback, but like you said, then he goes to the Steelers. He's always had solid performances out of his quarterbacks, and it does make you think. Some coordinators don't make great head coaches, but some coordinators obviously do their jobs really well. And maybe Arthur Smith is just one of those guys. He's kind of a quarterback guru. He's just not a very good head coach. Um, but yeah, I'm not gonna say he had all of them playing like great football, but he had them all playing winning football.
Well, I would say even just a good football. Like I'm not like all world top tier elite,
Mm-hmm.
but good football. Like and as you can tell, Arthur Smith, as a head coach in Atlanta didn't pan out too well. Obviously 7-10, but at the end of the day, like when he's been offensive coordinator, hey, he can produce quarterbacks. I'm not saying again like all world, all elite, but good quarterback play, and he's been able to do that. And you want coordinators to do that. You want you definitely want that.
Yeah, I feel bad for Justin Fields. Your dad said in the group chat, if I was Justin Fields, I wouldn't buy a house there. That's for sure.
No, I mean I feel bad for him too because it's just like how much of it is really his fault. He
Mhm.
against what what they played, I believe, what Minnesota in London, and
Broncos.
he looked. Oh, Denver. That's right, Denver. Thank you. It was bad watching that because at the end of the half they really get past midfield and then gave up. Like, what's going on there? Like, what is it? What is it?
Yeah, and I'll defend Justin Fields a little bit on that game specifically. I think Aaron Glenn got out coached by Sean Payton, because they had multiple chances where they had the ball at the 40-yard line, 50-yard line, going into halftime. I don't know if you remember, there was like a minute left, and they ran the ball four straight times and took it to the locker room.
Yeah, and then you saw Garrett Wilson walk, and it's just like, what is what is going on? Like, it was like one of the strangest football games, like ending to a first half I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Like you can see some crazy stuff here and there, but like strange of like you want to get points, at least a field goal, and bye. Like,
Yeah, not trusting him to make a couple of 3-yard passes.
well, even though like playing to Justin Fields' strengths, get him rolling out of the pocket. He's not a guy that's a drop back quarterback. Like have him roll out of the pocket, have him on the run. The Steelers like to have these like quarterback runs. Like you can tell with Rodgers this year, they've been getting him out of the pocket.
Yeah, that's kind of Justin Fields' game. Using his legs. I know he kind of had some injury concerns. He got pulled for an injury early in the game last week, but then he got benched. Um, I don't remember. I don't think he's been hurt other than that, right? No, he had a concussion one week.
Yeah, I believe it was. I thought it was Carolina, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was. That's what I was thinking. So he's had two games where he's had to go to the bench because he was hurt.
Yeah, he got nailed. He got hit pretty hard. Like he slid, and the defender came in late and nailed him. But those flags came in. But he got up right up from that.
Mhm.
So I could be wrong.
Yeah, so we'll kind of look at the week 7 games. And we'll go kind of fast on the previous games, and then we can go in depth on the upcoming weeks. I don't think there was really that many surprises this past week. I think a lot of the teams that won kind of were sort of expected. I mean, there was a couple like us. Like I don't think the Steelers were underdogs. Very surprised that the Steelers lost that game. Surprised that the Rams blew out the Jags. But really, the rest of the games, they kind of went the way I thought. But we can go in detail about some of them. But we'll start Steelers Bengals 31-33. Bengals win, and Joe Flacco looked great.
I will say this. I told a bunch of my coworkers at work because we do a pool. I said, pick the Bengals. I won't pick them because I'm a Steelers fan. I'm always going to believe. But Tomlin, 0-6 at the time, against divisional opponents on the road, or and 2-9 overall in Thursday night football games. Like 2-3 at home, 0-7 on the road. I'm like, pick Cincinnati. Only one coworker picked Cincinnati. One.
Wow. I'll be honest, I stayed away from that game for the same reason you're saying, where it's like the Steelers were the better team and are the better team. They're the better roster, better coach team, all of the above, better quarterback at the time, and they should have won that game even though it was in Cincinnati. But like you said, it's a divisional game. Anything happens in divisional games.
I just don't trust Tomlin. That's all it is for me. If it was a Sunday, I would have said Steelers, no problem. You can give me a Monday night football game, Pittsburgh. Thursday night, nope. No, I have no, especially on the road, no faith in Tomlin. Like, I got none. He hasn't won one, so he's giving me no reason to trust him.
I will remember that for my bets next year if they play Thursday night again. All right, so then we had some. Oh, sorry, repeat that. I was talking, so it cut off.
It's on the road.
On the road, yeah. All right, then Sunday morning, I got to wake up early.
I'm excited for this one.
I got to wake up early to watch Matthew Stafford, a future Hall of Famer, throw 5 touchdowns against my Jaguars in London.
I mean, to be honest, it was the defense didn't get settled in early. The defense played really well in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching Trevor Lawrence, it felt like the offensive line reverted back to last year, not be able to protect Trevor, and then drops. Like, how many passes do we keep seeing with the ball hitting receivers' hands, whether it's Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, like Strange, Travis Hunter, Parker Washington. Like, how many times are we gonna see passes hit their hands? And it's like, like you said, we saw the graphic on Monday night. It's like Trevor Lawrence completing 58% of his passes. It's like they're leading the league in drops. Like, that's why. I mean, like, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. If he had guys that could just stay consistent at catching the ball, it would be like from 58% to 64, 65.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting that you say that, because the PFF and all those grading scales that talk about drops, that's not actually how many, like, there's more than that. Like, there's the balls that BTJ should catch, but it's a little contested, so they don't consider it a drop. But it's BTJ, like, you need to catch those balls.
Yeah. And then, like, for example, it's funny that he caught like Brian Thomas Jr. caught a very tough catch against Seattle, but in the following week against LA, can't hold on to it, or he'll stop running. He'll let up, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I like, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but it's like, what are you do? Like, why are you like stopping on the play, especially when it's coming to you?
Yeah, I'm disappointed in that. I mean, they got the bye week to figure it out, so hopefully they can figure something out. Maybe they make a move on the trade deadline. Who knows? It's coming up, so a lot of teams could be making some moves to try to get better.
So, if you're the Jags, right? If you're the GM, Ian, what are you doing? Either are you training for an offensive player or defensive player, and why? Where's your mindset at going into the bye week? Because eventually, well, the trade deadline's going to come. What do you want? What do you want to see the Jags do differently?
So out of all the position groups, if I was to use a draft pick or use uh call someone up from a practice squad or a free agent that's available, whatever, it would 100% be on the defense. And the reason I say that is because even though the Jags, I don't know if they currently still do, but they led the league in takeovers before the game week 7. Who leads it now?
I think so, you guys.
Okay. I think so too. I'm just not 100% sure because it's been 2 weeks in a row we haven't gotten a turnover. So, but the turnovers have really hid a lot of the defensive deficiencies, specifically at safety and specifically on the interior defensive line. They're not getting to the quarterback. Pretty sure they're like bottom 5 in sacks. And they're like top 5 in yards allowed. again, all that do what?
No, you're good. You're good.
All I say all that to say the safety room gave up too many big plays this year, and the defense, the interior, well, really the whole defensive line. I'll throw Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen in this too. They're not getting to the QB.
You guys are second with 14. The Bears are
Repeat that so I can mute my mic.
the Bears lead with 16. You guys are second and 14 with turnovers.
The Bears came back. Okay, um, that's pretty damn good considering 2 games in a row we haven't had a single turnover.
So what's interesting is not defensively, but on the offensive side, I remember seeing a stat from or like a headline that said Trevor Lawrence had 6 of 7 games with an INT. Meanwhile, in 3 of the past, I believe 4, he's only thrown one
Mm-hmm.
or 2 of the last. Oh yeah, like 3 in the last 3 games he's thrown one, and it was the terrible no call against the Chiefs. The past few games he's actually played clean football. He hasn't turned the ball over. He hasn't fumbled. He's actually protected the ball. So like the reason why they lost the past 2 games hasn't been necessarily him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I've had this argument on Twitter the past couple days because because of how bad they played in London. It's like we just know what Trevor is at this point. Blah blah blah, and it's like that's so far from the truth of what's actually happening. He is not the problem. He's not. He might not be the solution at the moment because I think a lot of things have to change. Offensive line can't be giving up the most sacks in the league in 2 games in a row. Defense has to get a couple turnovers. The defense, I don't know the last time they sacked the quarterback.
Um, Probably what it was in Kansas City because they didn't really
They didn't
get
get
Darnold.
Mahomes. They did not
And
sack Mahomes.
or that was San Fran.
They might have gotten Mac Jones or Brock Purdy. Sorry, they might have gotten Brock Purdy.
Brock. Yeah, and then Brock Purdy was out after that. But it's interesting seeing like when you guys are all over defensively, you guys can stay in games. But when Trevor Lawrence doesn't have time in the pocket to make a read, and then he has happy feet and gets sacked, that's the biggest flaw with Trevor Lawrence is that he doesn't instead of adjusting to like, hey, let me get like quick out plays. There's times where he'll hold on to it, and then the play develops, and it's just he doesn't get rid of it. He doesn't throw it away or anything. Or even if he just even overthrows a receiver on the sideline, it's like, hey, just make sure live to see the next down. So it's hard. And then for what it's worth, that 35-7 was also very misleading. Cam Little missed field goals, and then when you guys were able to move the ball in the second half, but not be able to punch it in.
Yeah, I mean they
Like,
got into the red zone like a lot.
yeah, it was just the execution of the drives because you guys were there, but you guys like for example, if you guys let's say went for 3 field goals at one point, it would have been 21-9. And if Cam Little doesn't miss one, it's 21-12, which is a different feel than 21 zip, 28 nothing. You know, Travis Hunter looking like a star offensively.
Yeah,
He,
that's actually why I don't think an offensive player is what's needed. Um, I think they have not used Travis Hunter the correct way on offense yet, and he's still been good. But I think they really need to reverse Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter's roles because I think Travis Hunter actually is the number one.
if even if Brian Thomas, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is still a one. And the reason why I say that is because he can make such incredible plays and such incredible catches. It's the consistency of it. If he stayed consistent with it, he reminds me of a different version of George Pickens in ways. George Pickens will start running a route and then not finish the route, or he'll let up. But as a Steeler, I've been, as a Cowboy, as you can tell, he's been having the greatest start as a Cowboy wide receiver in Cowboy history, which hurts me, as a Steeler fan. But like, come on, Brian Thomas Jr. has to stay consistent. I think if you stay consistent, I personally believe that you don't feel this way about Brian Thomas Jr. and how he is with Travis Hunter.
Yeah, what I'll also add to that is that This wasn't their draft pick. I mean, I understand Brian Thomas Jr. is a great player when he catches the ball, but again, it's a new regime. So as much as I do love to hear and hope, you know, that all's well with him and everything. There's a chance. They're not. He wasn't their pick. So, like I said, I don't think they're going to get rid of somebody that's good because I do think he's a good player. I'm not saying he's bad. I just think he's in a slump and he needs to get out of it.
I think the Jags would ask for I wouldn't say like a haul, but they would want, hey, like we spent a first rounder on this guy. I think they would want a first rounder or a high second round pick for him.
That's fair.
Like
That's fair to assume. That yeah, absolutely.
he has a great talent. He had a phenomenal rookie year.
And plus, he's still got the fifth year option. You know, it's not that far away. Like it'd be one thing if he was like year 4, he had the good rookie year, and then had 2 or 3 bad years after that. But he's fresh off of his
Rookie year, yeah. That's why I said
know.
that they're going to move on from him. I think they're, hey, here's sometimes players go through this, which is, which is true. Like look at CJ Stroud, he had a phenomenal rookie year, and then like now you can see where he is now. He's struggling a little bit, but I think personally it's because of his offensive line. Because if you don't trust your offensive line, you rush through everything. You rush through your reads. You rush through like, oh, I can feel it. Like I got to get out of the pocket. I got to and it's hard to adjust to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see.
I wonder if he knows
This
he's muted.
thing's. I'm trying to look to see. So the Jags have played 7 games and have 8 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, but what makes it though forcing quarterbacks to make the wrong reads, having your guys come in there force fumbles. That's where it covers up though, which is a good thing. Yeah, you want to have more sacks. You want to be able to create pressure, but at the same time, Trayvon Walker missed a game, so with his wrist, and then he was back, but still like
He actually essentially missed. He missed the Kansas City game, and then he actually only played on 3rd downs against Seattle. So he essentially missed 2. So
yeah,
I'll give him that.
yeah, and then the first, and he's one of your best defensive players, so it's hard to do that. It's hard to create the pressure. When one guy is coming from wrist surgery and playing, you know, if he's not playing on first and second down, and Seattle's driving, he's not seeing the field. So
Yeah, and then another thing that's a little disappointing about that, they did not sack Stafford. They sacked Sam Darnold once. They did not sack uh, Patrick Mahomes or um, Brock Purdy. So 7 of their sacks came in week 1, 2, and 3, and only 1 came 4, 5, 6, 7.
So when you watch the Jags play, who do you blame that on? Do you blame it on scheme, or do you blame it on not bringing pressure? What do you think personally?
I think the issue is a lack of talent, actually. Um, Specifically on the interior defensive line. They do not have a game wrecker in the middle. The good teams that get to the quarterback, they have at least one edge and at least one guy in the middle, or they have 2 edges and decent middle, or they have a really good secondary for the coverage sacks. I don't think they have the good secondary, and I don't think they have the good interior defensive line. I think they have 2 great edges, and that's it.
Yeah, and then you see the Chiefs with Chris Jones. You see, the Steelers with like they had Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward was a wrecker, or like even Counted Ben plays well, but like he's not like a game wrecker. You have but you also have T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. With guys like that, you want to have. I mean, remember the Raiders had a good defensive lineman, Christian Wilkins, and
Mm-hmm.
look how that guy turned out to be. He wasn't like all like giant difference maker, but he's still a great defensive tackle.
Yep.
So it's hard seeing that when you see like when you're not creating pressure, it's hard to get sacks, hard to get quarterbacks to play terrible. Because if you're asking your tackles, say, hey, just play well enough and we can win. It's hard, but your secondaries has also been very good this year too. I know how much you know loved Andre Cisco, right?
Well, he's a Jet.
Well, I thought you loved him.
Uh, I wouldn't say that. I'll say this about Andre Cisco. I did like it. The problem is he gets in his own way. I think it's mental for him, where it's like he's a crazy athlete. He's got potential to be like the greatest, one of the best safeties in the league, but he doesn't. It's like he's not in the right place. He's never where he's supposed to be, or maybe he is where he's supposed to be, and it's always just happens to be him that's chasing someone. I don't know, but it seems like he's kind of in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Like he's not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be here, and I think that's what his issue is not understanding his role. Um,
It can be scheme too.
it could be. That's why I said I don't know if it's one or the other. Um, so yeah, yeah. That's enough about the Jags because I'll get depressed if I keep talking.
No, what are you talking? You guys are. I think they'll bounce back. You know, and you got to believe that way.
We do get the
We,
Raiders next week.
and if you guys should, I mean, if you guys can't beat a team that had 3 first downs against Kansas City, I think that screams a problem in Jacksonville. Like, because I watched the Raiders and Chiefs game, and watching Geno Smith play this past weekend against that defense, I mean, they didn't look good at all. They couldn't block. They couldn't do anything well. Like it got so bad that Kenny Pickett went in. Unfortunately, he snapped. Like he fumbled his first snap, and then like it was rough watching that game. Watching like watching with 2.5 minutes left, and they're kneeling the ball. Like let me rephrase this. Let me restart that. In the beginning of the fourth quarter, they benched Patrick Mahomes for Gardner Minshew. Patrick Mahomes played 3 quarters and put 31 points up, and he could have had a snack, ate a meal, do whatever he wanted. They put the bench players in, and they still couldn't produce points, which is maddening to me. It's sad.
Yeah, I completely agree. We can actually go ahead. I mean, they got destroyed 31-0, and it was a clinic by the Chiefs. Like, they look like if they would have kept trying, they could have dropped 100.
Yeah, absolutely. And and when you watch the game, you saw the dynamic of Rashee Rice. And all of a sudden their offense looking healthy. They look. I mean, do you want to see this kind of team in the postseason?
Yeah.
Like this kind of Chiefs team, because you played when you allow 3 first downs, excellent defense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't allow a single point. I mean, defensively, you can't even ask for a better game. You know, you didn't see Ashton Genty get loose. Like no, obviously no Brock Bowers. No Jacoby Myers. Obviously, those playing a factor for the Raiders, but still, they gotta even just to put up no points. It's kind of like it's frustrating to watch teams like that they should be able to put up points and they just can't.
Yeah, you thought with Pete Carroll going there, they were going to be better. But I mean, I'll say it the way I say it when Jag fans freak out about the 4-2, the way we've lost, or 4-3, sorry, the way we've lost the last couple games. It's like this team has been bad for a long time. Same with the Raiders. You're trying to overcome years of bad culture, bad everything, bad front office, bad draft picks, bad free agency classes. You lost your best defensive tackle because he was a locker room problem. Like there's a lot that they had to overcome. Um, and you brought a brand new QB in. Now, granted, he's a vet, but it's like
Yeah,
Pete Carroll's trying to bring a new system over. Like there's a lot of moving pieces. So it's not time to freak out for them because I think Pete Carroll, my my theory is they brought Pete Carroll in to change the culture, to kind of raise the floor of their expectations, and they're probably going to hire a new coach next year. That's my theory. I think that was the plan, is to have a a veteran coach come in for kind of like a garbage year to get everybody back on track the way it's supposed to be in a proper NFL setting, then they're going to probably fire him at the end of the year or part ways, whatever you want to call it. And then I think they're going to try to get it like a young offensive mind in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Carroll gets another year, if I'm
It
being
could, it could,
honest,
it could.
because you can't build a culture in 1 year. Like if let's say you want to change that, I can see it being 2 years with Carroll, and then the third year, like, hey, we're gonna because for example, if Pete Carroll finishes 7-10, are you firing him? Like,
No, no, not necessarily.
and I that's why I say I think he gets one more year. Personally, I believe he gets one more year. Now, I do not think Geno Smith is getting another year. I
Mhm.
think they're going to draft a quarterback or possibly even sign one in free agency. I have more of an idea of like in my head thinking that they're going to sign one in free agency personally. Like I think the Raiders have too many other problems than just simply Geno Smith.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was saying. Like they have so much suck to just fix.
Yeah,
That comes with being a bad franchise, at least for the past decade. Um,
yeah.
and then
I was gonna say like it's tough to see Pete Carroll. I mean, you're also hiring a 70-year-old man. You know, like you saw the stat, like you saw the headline, like like the combined ages was 141 years of age. Like two 70-year-olds going at it. I mean, that's you can't build a culture with him. You can't build something new with him. You can set a standard that you want with him starting, but he's not going to be the right answer.
yeah, that's kind of why I believe it was just going to be a year. You're right though; it could be two. Whatever. Like I said, I think that's why he was brought in because, like you said, he's 70. You're not planning. This isn't a future thing. Like this is to fix shit now.
This is where you're starting. This is hey, this is what we want to be. This is the direction we want to go,
Mhm.
and that's what's going to happen. First, which isn't bad. Like that you want that. You want that. I think any team you ask that's been like look what the Bears are doing with Ben Johnson
Yeah.
after horrible years of Matt Nagy and like it's when you see all these awful coaches and coordinators look, and then all of a sudden we're gonna get offensive minded guru and Ben Johnson. Now look at Caleb Williams, 4-2. Kind of back to where they were exactly a year ago before the train fell off the tracks.
Yeah, I think we can talk about them now. The 26-14 against the Saints. I really think Ben Johnson is doing what he said he was going to do. He's trying to establish a culture. Um, Spencer Rattler threw 3 interceptions, so that defense is really starting to shape up in Chicago. The offensive line's doing a decent job. Only allowed 1 sack. The Bears had almost 400 yards of total offense and 222 rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean when you play all around football, you can't I mean also the Saints are on fire sale mode at
Mhm.
this point. Spencer Rattler obviously hasn't been the answer. He also hasn't been the problem either. He's played actually well football in New Orleans. It's the I just they just can't put it together with Kellen Moore. Like they're what 1-6,
Yeah,
I believe.
1-6. Yeah, and I mean they're in a division that Tampa's probably going to run away with. Um, but I like the direction they're going. I actually do like Kellen Moore. I really thought that the hiring wasn't a good one for Kellen Moore to go to because it's like you're a young coach, but you're going to a team similar to what I was saying about the Raiders. Just hasn't been good, and kind of since Drew Brees really. And that's hard for a young coach to overcome. Now I get like in the NFL, you get a head coaching job because the team sucked. I get that. Like that's how the head coaching jobs open up. You're not walking away from a good team typically when you're a head coach, a first time head coach anyway. I was worried about their salary cap problems. They're an older roster, so there was a lot of issues I had. But the fact that he's going in there with Spencer Rattler, yes, Spencer Rattler threw 3 interceptions, but he went 20 for 32 for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So that's why I said he hasn't been the problem in New Orleans. It's just like you just said, they're older, cap issues. I mean, for a young head coach to go in there, and you can't expect him to save everything in 1 year. I mean, you didn't really give him like a different. I don't think like you said, Spencer Rattler's in the problem, but I think with the right quarterback, we have two great receivers, and Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Which one of the two I personally believe is going to get traded. I think it's going to be Rashid Shaheed because I think Chris Olave for them is just like, hey, this is our Michael Thomas. Hey, this is our Lance Moore. Like we're not like he's our. We want him to be a Saint for life.
Yeah, my only concern with Olave is his injuries, like the concussion stuff. But I agree. I think Olave is kind of the guy that you would prefer if
Oh,
I'm New
absolutely.
Orleans.
Well, yeah. If I had to keep one of the two, I'm keeping Chris Olave. Like I'm not. I like Rashid Shaheed. Don't get me wrong, but I think the way they want to go, like they're on a fire sale. They're 1-6. You're not. I mean, I don't know what they're genuinely expecting this year from Kellen Moore, but they that at some point they have to uproot and get younger, find themselves in a better salary cap situation. Obviously, it's going to be a while for them to get there, but it's going to happen eventually for them.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm on the Kellen Moore train now. And then the Bears with Ben Johnson. I obviously Ben Johnson was the favorite of the hiring cycle. I was hoping he would come to Jacksonville. I'm cool with Liam coming too, but Ben Johnson was the guy I was hoping would come here. Um, you know, the Bears have turned a corner, in my opinion. They've scored 25 points, at least 25 points, in their last 4 games. Um, and their 2 losses was to the Lions, who obviously they got destroyed by the Lions. They lost by 31, but that was only his second game, and it was the Lions who Dan Campbell obviously has the Ben Johnson book. Like he's
And
got.
if you can find how many times Caleb Williams has been sacked, like that's a key factor. Last year, what he got sacked like 70 times.
Yeah, most in the
But
league.
if you can, like I said, if you can find the stat, how many sacks in those so far this year, like it's I guarantee you that number is different because they're protecting him now, and Ben Johnson's putting him in the right situations and play winning football versus, like I said, when you play the Lions, I mean, the Lions are a whole different beast.
Yeah, so Caleb Williams has only been sacked 11 times, and he's only thrown 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, what he's on pace for. I mean, if we're almost halfway through the season already, like what 6 games, 7 games already, and 14, he's like on pace for 30 sacks, 35 sacks, somewhere in between there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and look, that's what 40 less terrible plays. 40 less terrible plays is a ton.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference from last year. I was trying to see stats for last year specifically. Um, okay, so he is kind of projected to throw a couple more interceptions, but he's also throwing the ball a little bit more, I feel like. And he's getting sacked less. So who knows? Those 68 sacks could have turned into interceptions, could have turned into anything. Like you don't know.
that fumbles, you name it, and that's why like you protect your quarterback, like Caleb Williams again, number 1 overall pick for a reason. Look what he does when you give him a decent offensive line, some good playmakers, and Luther Burden, DJ Moore. You know, like, look what happens. A decent offensive line, and you got winning football, man. It's nice to have offensively.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We have next is Eagles Vikings. So this was actually a really good game. Um, Jalen Hurts really.
That's why,
What was that?
best 1 o'clock game of the afternoon for sure.
Absolutely, because this was a nail biter for the team, for both teams. Both teams had a chance to win. Obviously, only one did, but Jalen Hurts played a dang near perfect game. Wentz got picked off a couple times, but he actually played a good game.
Yeah, I mean he did. I mean he got. I mean besides that first quarter was bad,
Hmm.
but Jalen Hurts has a perfect quarterback rating of 19 to 23, I believe, with 286 passing and 3 touchdowns. Like he played a perfect game quarterback wise, quarter QBR wise. And then after, I mean, you saw, I believe it was yesterday, AJ Brown using me but not using me. I mean, does he want out? Do you like is he just doing this for social, like for the for reporters and the clicks? It's very realistic that he is. At the end of the day, like they are when they play that kind of way with Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts isn't throwing 30, 35 plus times a game, that's why you're winning the football game.
Yeah,
Like
they're doing it without a good running game.
yeah, like and it's because of the offensive line. Like it's kind of interesting seeing them not be able to run the football because that's I feel like that's always been their greatest strength. It has been tush push, or I know there's a lot of critics say that that's their best play, whatever. But I think it's just like the best running back in the league was on pace for 2,000 yards, now on pace for less than 1,000 is crazy.
It is. I keep thinking that they're going to wake up and figure it out. Who knows if that happens or not? But regardless, they're winning the tough games. Last year they were blowing people out. This year they're winning the tough games, which is important. They lost pieces on both sides of the ball. So I mean, there's reasons for it. They got a brand new offensive coordinator, so a lot of reasons for the downfall of the running game. The defense, kind of seemed like it's giving up a little bit more. Um, but I mean, they're still the Eagles. They're still one of the best rosters in football. Nick Sirianni is obviously still that coach, so they got a lot going for them.
Yeah, I mean that's like you said. Like I think it's all about timing for them because you saw early in the season they were like, should they fire Nick Sirianni? And then all of a sudden they went on a winning streak and then won the Super Bowl. And it's just like, no, Nick Sirianni isn't the problem. Like sometimes, like you just got to figure it out throughout the season. Every team eventually has to figure it out. Like especially from like okay team to good team or good team to trying to be an elite team. Every team has to figure it out. Like the Steelers have to figure it out defensively. You know, like the Chiefs have to figure it out offensively for what it's worth. Because they had a really good game, but against a bad opponent. Like they go up against Washington this week, but with no Jaden Daniels. How much is that really a game that you want to watch without Jaden Daniels? I'm not saying it's not a good game to watch, but with Jaden Daniels, it's much more of a game.
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie. I hate his play style. Um, Hurt again.
Well, I mean, his offensive line hasn't played well this year. Like the fact that he's been injured twice, like there's times where a quarterback doesn't give himself up, but like they couldn't protect him, and then he couldn't finish against Dallas, and Dallas has the worst defense in the league, and they balled out. They played very well for them. That's why they're probably their best defensive game the entire year, besides the Jets game. But they also gave up in the fourth quarter with the Jets game though. But that was different. They put backups in.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on how do you think they're gonna make the playoffs?
The Commanders. I think they do because if even if they play average football and Mariota is able to squeak a few wins here and there, it's hard to count out Jaden Daniels after last year. Like a rookie going to the NFC Championship game in Philly, it's hard to, for me personally, it's hard to count them out because again, it's like can you count out like the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes? It's like you can't say that. Because a lot of teams like to write him off without Patrick, and a lot of teams like to write off the Buffalo Bills without Josh Allen. But let's face it, Mitch Trubisky won 3 games, and let's say Josh Allen was out for 6, and he's able to go 3-3. That's pretty successful. That's what you want. Like, hey, like we didn't lose a ton of games, and you coming back and save us.
Yeah, I'm curious how they're gonna end up handling it because I if he keeps getting injured, it's gonna be really hard. Hamstring injuries are always tough for any position, but especially when you use your legs as a quarterback.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're like a corner or like a running back, I feel like it's much more like you said because quarterbacks can. If you're like a pocket passer and they want to get the ball out quick, if you have a certain game plan, hey, we're gonna get the ball out quick. We don't want you staying in the pocket for too long. We just want you to get rid of it and go. You know, that's different. But obviously, if you're like a mobile quarterback like Jaden Daniels is, it's you want to be very careful then to make it worse.
Yeah, and especially if the O line's not playing as good as it should, that's you got to move the quarterback around, and that's when it gets dicey. But Cowboys win a good one, 44-22. I mean, their offense is clicking.
Yeah, look, watch them play with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Like that offense is so good to take them to an NFC Championship game.
Hmm.
But that defense can be so bad they miss the playoffs. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
defense,
that's the defense is definitely a problem.
like that offense, offensively can get them to an NFC Championship game. Because I've seen it, like I've seen it where you can pass all over the field. Doesn't matter what coverage you give them. Dak Prescott will make you pay with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Like same thing with Joe Burrow and the the Bengals. Like you give him a decent offensive line, the offensive like decent offensive line, that he can get you an NFC Championship game. But with that terrible defense that they've had, besides against Pittsburgh, like you ain't doing nothing in the post. There is no postseason. So it's all about where you go from here now. If you know with the Cowboys, like can you get do you, I think personally they have to go get somebody defensively. Like whether it's, I think it's a safe. I think personally they need to go get like a another safety or corner because pass if you guys like pass rushers need to get home a few times a game to alter a game. They don't need to be there every single play. But if you can limit quarterback throwing all over you, I think that's the right way to go. If you're the Cowboys specifically,
Yeah, I'm curious if they're in that win now
you're muted,
mode.
bud.
Good call. I
You're muted.
I was clicking the wrong one. So I'm curious if they are in win now mode. I know Jerry's always kind of in the win now mode, but I'm curious if they are trying to potentially feel it out this year with a rookie head coach, Brian Schottenheimer. Um, I don't know if that's Jerry's way. I really don't think he's the kind of guy that to do that, especially this early in the season. Um, but do you trade at the deadline for someone if you're the Cowboys in this situation where the Eagles have kind of a good advantage on you? The Giants are playing pretty good football right now. Like what would you do if you were Jerry Jones?
Well, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm going again. Go get a safety. I need to go get a safety because, or at least another corner because they on the back end get burned a lot with Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. Deron Bland had a pick six. Don't get me wrong. I like Deron Bland, good corner, but what you have to make a team one dimensional. And which way do you want to go? Do you want to make it in the passing game or in the running game? For me, I think for the Cowboys watching them defensively, it's the you want to make them run the ball than pass because they're on pace to have the worst defense like a QBR rating of all time, like over 100 and I think 15 or something like that. It was a ridiculous stat that they were on pace for. Like, and I don't think they're on that pace now, but they were on a ridiculous bad rate, like passer wise. And I think for me, it's go get a corner, go get another safety, whatever it is, go find that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think to your point earlier though about the defensive like pass rusher, if you can get to the quarterback a little bit more, that helps your your secondary out a little bit. And I agree with you with Bland. Bland is the kind of guy he's either going to pick you off or allow a huge game. Like it's
Yeah,
actually pretty crazy because he led the league in pick sixes last year, but he also gave up a ton of yards.
yeah. And that's why, like, you go get another corner to help your guys out. I think Trayvon Diggs is better as like a slot corner, in my opinion. He's not like he's not a bad outside corner either, but go get help me help you. You know, Like if you help us here,
Mhm.
we can help you out here and here and here. Because like I said, there's a few times a game for pass rushers to get there. You know, it doesn't have to be every single snap, it doesn't have to be every single drive, but help your corners out, help your secondary out, and you want that help. That's just me personally.
I agree. I think defensive side of the ball for them, and they picked up Javonte Williams, and he's been really good for them. Everybody thought he was overrated.
He's playing excellent football. I mean, but let me ask you this: who's more on a fire sale in your opinion, the Miami Dolphins or the New Orleans Saints?
I'd have to go with Miami because I think Miami hasn't looked competitive. They've not looked competitive at all. They're really looking terrible, and I think the Saints have at least looked competitive.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree with you. I mean, as you can tell, Mike McDaniel's like, we're not gonna throw 10 picks this week, and to calling out leaders when it's like, hey man, like you shouldn't be doing that up front in front of the media where they can make a three, where the social media can make three into a nine. Like you can spin it and it makes them worse. Like you guys gotta like, I'm not saying have another players only meeting, but like keep things in house. You know, instead of letting a match. Because now it's like, Are they gonna trade Jalen Waddle? Like, are you guys gonna trade? Are you guys gonna fire Mike McDaniel? Who knows where they're gonna go? Like, at least with this.
I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no worries.
But no, but yeah, it's just I don't see the Saints doing like the Saints are different, but with the Dolphins, it's was Mike McDaniel's gonna stay? What's going on with Tua? Because you got bench for Quinn Ewers. Like, what are we gonna see?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is, which we can actually go to the Dolphins Browns game. Browns beat them 31-6. Uh,
Close.
I mean, Tua has really been playing bad football. I don't know what it is. I refuse to believe a guy that was a first round pick is this bad, but he's got back to back games throwing 3 interceptions. He's got 10 interceptions on the year already. That's not. I mean, no matter what happens on offense, defense, you cannot win throwing 3 picks in a game.
A lot of online scrutiny of like, was Brian Flores right about Tua? It's like, I mean, you can't really say that. Like, if you find the right guy to meet his play style, who knows what Tua is capable of? Because we've seen Tua play so well, lead his team to the postseason before. Obviously, they can't play in cold games because they lose. I don't think they've won a cold game below like 40 degrees or something like that, 30 degrees. But you find the right coach. If you like this thing with head coaches, right? You find one guy that matches your quarterback play style, and your quarterback can be so good. Like look how well, like for what it's worth, Trevor Lawrence playing well with Liam Cohen. You see Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson, like even Jared Goff with Ben Johnson. Look at Matt Stafford with right guys and right coordinators, and right head coaches, like with Sean McVay. It's look how well these guys are playing. Like I don't see how people can go at Tua. I mean, they have a right to go at Tua for the way he criticizes his teammates, however, or addresses the media. But at the end of the day, I think if you find a right coach for him, a right coordinator, however you want to put it, I think he's still very well a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how many chances he's going to get, honestly, because if he goes out there and plays bad this week against the Falcons, and the Falcons' defense is actually decent, so that's going to
They
be
are.
tough. But I mean, you have ownership and fan base breathing down your neck about potentially Quinn Ewers starting.
Ask you this: like, with if Tua played under you know Kyle Shanahan and Kevin O'Connell, how different do you think he would be? I think he'd be much different.
It would be, and I do. I mean, Mike McDaniel's is an offensive minded head coach, but Shanahan and Kevin O'Connell are different. They are truly different when it comes to their QBs. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, you've watched what he's done with um, Jimmy G. You've watched what he's done with Mac Jones, Brock Purdy.
Trey
Um,
Lance, you know,
yes, and Kevin O'Connell, you've seen what they've done with Sam Darnold,
Kirk
Kirk.
Cousins. Yep.
Did he have a year with Kirk Cousins? Okay. Well, he got hurt. So then, who went in after Kirk Cousins?
I mean, Carson had Carson Wentz,
Oh,
like
and Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. Yeah, that's right.
So, and then now this year, you see Carson Wentz, who's having it's not bad. Like, he's really not playing bad football. Now, I think he's not a great quarterback, so that's part of it, but he's not playing bad.
Yeah. And no, he's not. I think he's playing well enough. You know, you still. I mean, it's so funny. You still don't know what you have from JJ McCarthy yet.
Yeah,
You just don't know.
that's tough because I've been one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he's had 4 games with over an 80 rating, and he's had 2 of those games were over 100 rating. So I mean, he's not playing bad. But damn, what was I gonna say before we? I just
Don't know
saw that.
JJ McCarthy. You just don't know. You don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So if you're a Vikings fan, are you pissed that you didn't keep Sam Darnold?
Me personally, like, I don't think so. I think because yeah, Sam Darnold's playing well, but at the same time, inevitably this was going to happen. You drafted a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy for a reason. Like, you can't keep him there forever. Like, are you going to do like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers thing, or Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love thing, where they ride the bench for a few years and then like starting? It's like I think inevitably it was going to happen. I didn't think they were going to keep him personally. Me personally, I think you want to go for a guy that, hey, like we've drafted him to be our future. We want to see what we have from him. We want to go with this guy versus Sam Darnold, who's had a lot of bad years on bad teams. You know, he went he was a 49er, he was a Jet, he was a Panther, like, you know, a journeyman of the NFL, you know. Now he's Seahawk.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm a firm believer if you know what you have, best to keep it. But again, you already used the first round pick on JJ, so I mean, there's not much you could have done there. Like you can't turn around and trade him after getting injured. You're not going to get anything close to a first round pick for him. And then same with Sam Darnold. Like now you're paying a guy $100 million. Now you can't really afford to pay guys that you've got on the team. So I get why it's a tough situation there.
I think it would have been interesting if he would have won either like the first round bye
Mm-hmm.
last year, or even if they don't lose those back to back games in the way they did. I think that's what really you know changed things for them. Like, hey, like we had a lot of fun this year with you, but when it counted the most, you weren't there. You weren't able to get us over that hump. You weren't able to get us the 1 seed. You weren't able to get us, like you couldn't even win us a playoff game, after being 14-3. I think that's what it was, like, hey, like when it mattered most, you didn't pan out.
Yeah, that was my thoughts actually as well. If he would have won a playoff game, I think the situation's completely different. I think you move on from JJ. But I mean, they drafted him. They obviously have the confidence in him if they didn't make the decision to let Sam Darnold walk. So
I personally believe if Sam Darnold won the 1 seed and or won that playoff game, I think he's still there. Personally, I think Sam Darnold's still there. But again, with the circumstances and how they mattered and how they lost is what I believe accelerated. Hey, we appreciate you and how well you did this year, but we're gonna move on. So it is what it is now. Like Sam Darnold's doing pretty well in Seattle 5-2 with JSN. Golly, 819 yards through 7 games is madness.
hmm It's definitely insane. We'll knock this game out kind of quick because it was Panthers Jets. It was terrible. Very bad
Yeah.
game. It wasn't a defensive game. It was just poor offense on both sides, kind of.
Now Young is out.
What?
Bryce Young is out now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for them. Bryce Young going down. I mean, honestly, maybe this is what they need. Not that this is a good thing, but I mean, the last time Bryce Young took a break, he came back and was even better. So maybe that's good for him.
Yeah, like like I guess when you throw a quarterback out there really quick, it doesn't pan out automatically success. Sometimes you need a veteran to get in there. Hey, like you want like have him see the field, and then when the rookie comes in, like hey, like this is what you want to look for. Try to play like this. Don't be like this. Now you can see Bryce Young is balling, and then Carolina's I believe 4-3 as well. Like they're over 500, which is good for them.
Yeah, I mean they're at a really good spot because I think the Falcons are right around 500 too. Um, they're right around 500, and the Bucks just lost, so they might be what are they? They're 5-2, so they got a good record. Yeah, interrupting the pod girl over there. So I mean I don't. The wild card's not out of the question for them if they can keep the trajectory of where they're going.
Yeah, but again, it all depends on how they play overall. Because with Bryce Young, you still kind of don't know what you have with him either. He's played well at times, and then like in the preseason he played pretty well, and then when the regular season, the first few weeks of the regular season, he didn't play all that great. So now we're back to here. So it's going to be interesting what the Panthers want to do. I think they're going to. I don't know if they're going to buy at the deadline. To be honest, I can see them not making any moves. I can also see them trying to at least get another maybe offensive weapon for them. So who knows what the Panthers are going to do?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm,
it probably depends on what happens this week with Andy Dalton. Because
but
I think 4-4 is a lot different than 5-3.
oh, it is 100%. Especially if you're going into another win, all of a sudden you start separating yourself from being below 500 team. Hey, where are we looking at in the offseason? Where are we going to draft? We're going to trade. I still don't believe in the Chargers. Still,
No, I don't. I don't either. I think they're too injury prone. We can talk about this one. Chargers, Colts, 24 Chargers, Colts 38. Colts are legit. I think it's pretty nice to say at this point. I mean, you can say, Justin Herbert, you know, he's got a bunch of guys out. He's got 200 running backs. He's got both offensive tackles out. So they had the advantage there. The Colts did, but I mean, now they've beaten two quality teams.
I'm not sold. I'm still not sold. It's more. It's not because of the like how they've been playing offensively. I just don't buy them overall. I just don't because they've beaten a lot of bad teams. And guess what? The good team that they did beat, like this past week, the Chargers, like you said, injury prone, two missing left tackles. Now you have Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris out. Like, I mean, I would love to see them play a fully healthy team that, or at least 90% healthy. They don't have to be 100% healthy, but more than what the Chargers could do. Because Daniel Jones picked them apart left and right. Jonathan Taylor ran all over them. Like, I want to see like if Pittsburgh's healthy, I'm actually excited to see the Steelers and Colts game. Absolutely excited because I personally believe the Steelers can beat them. And I'm not gonna say it won't be like a blowout, but I'm not gonna sit here and say it's gonna be an easy win for them either. I think the Steelers can beat them. I think if personally, I think if the Jags fully healthy, I think the Jags can beat them straight up. I mean, personally, I just believe that personally because I have a lot of faith in that defense. Like I know they're division opponents as well, but I can see. I just think they're. I don't believe in Daniel Jones.
That's fair.
Not yet.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not saying Daniel Jones he's playing good football right now, but I do think that there's a reason he didn't pan out in New York. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's all you can say is we'll see Can they keep it up? Who knows? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We'll see. They got a tough schedule coming up, so that's going to really prove it. They play well, they get an easy one against the Titans, but then they play the Steelers, then they play the Falcons, then they play the Chiefs, then they play the Texans, Jags, Seahawks, Niners. So
Yeah,
again, brutal end of
I
the
can
schedule.
I can see them losing 4 of those 6 games
Mm-hmm.
because it's not about what I expect from them. I just expect the other teams to be better. Like I expect the Chiefs down the line to be better. I expect, like I said, the Steelers to be better. I expect the Jags to be better. Like I expect a lot of those teams to be, hey, like, yeah, you may be good right now, but you weren't. There's a reason why we were in, a wild card game, divisional game, whatever, AFC championship. It doesn't matter. Like there's a reason why we were there late in the season and you guys were at home. So that's just me personally, how I feel about, the Colts. I mean, I'm not a believer in the Colts. I'm not a believer in the Chargers. I think if the Chargers had, their healthy tackles and Amarian or Najee healthy, I think I would feel a little bit differently about them. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Chargers definitely need a bye to get healthy.
Yeah.
Then we also had Patriots versus the Titans. So we had number one overall pick Cam Ward, who had a really rough game. He had that fumble, he had a pick. Other than those two things, though, he actually didn't play terrible throwing the football. He was 25 for 34, 255 yards. But Drake May was simply better. He went 21 for 23, 222 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, Drake May's balling right now. He's playing phenomenal football. The Patriots have won the last 4 games. They beat the Bills, like obviously they beat Tennessee. I feel so bad for not Kenny, Cam Ward because the offensive line can't protect him. His receivers aren't really making space. Like Tyler Lockett just asked for his release and got let go. I feel bad for Cam Ward because I feel he deserves a lot better. You know, especially from a poverty franchise that is Tennessee right now because they can't protect him. He has no superstar wide receivers. He's got Calvin Ridley, who's a great is a good receiver, but I want to see them make a play for offensive lineman, probably in the draft or wide receiver, something.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of work to do. They're probably gonna have the number one pick again. I mean, the Jets might get up, but I mean, it's gonna be between them and the Titans, in my opinion. I don't have a lot of faith in the coaching staff. They obviously fired their head coach. So I mean, when you fire your head coach 6 games, 5 games, 6 games in, 6 games in, um,
Yeah,
you're in trouble. Um,
yeah.
we
I was just say like
yeah.
hard. It's hard to establish something with a rookie quarterback when you I don't know what franchises expect from their quarterbacks when they fire their head coach and they hire a new coordinator and they fire a coach, get a new coordinator. Like it's I don't know how you guys or organizations believe that you can find success that way.
No, I agree. You really can't. Um, we'll kind of bounce to
Broncos and Giants.
Giants Broncos again. Probably
What a
the
game!
craziest game I've watched in a long time.
It was in watching the end of that game because you're up when you're up 19-0. Okay, you're up 25-8, and then the pick from Jackson Dart that flipped the game. Wow, like I don't know
Mhm.
what to say. I don't know if it was more how impressive the Broncos were the last 5 minutes of the game, or how atrocious that New York played at the end. I don't know what is more impressive, how bad a team was or how good another team was.
Yeah, that I mean to go down like they did and then come back and score 33 in one quarter, that's insane. Jackson Dart looking like kind of the real deal. Bo Nix came out firing in that last quarter. Put the ball where it needed to be. He didn't have a great game, but that last quarter was really good for him.
What was awesome was watching actually Jackson Dart go on a 2 minute drill and have him have the Giants take the lead because he converted a 4th and 19,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, to Wendell Robinson, and I was like, wow, like 4th and 19, like, and he went all the way down the field and then on a QB design run, got in like that. Like that's he's a baller. He is a baller.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about him is his health because he does run the football so much, but he's kind of built similar. He's big. He's not a small guy, so maybe he can take the hits a little bit. But I mean, you wish he would slide a little bit more, just from that point of view. I mean, you're looking at guys like Lamar's out, Jaden Daniels out. Running quarterbacks go out more often than normal. Um,
Yeah,
they're getting hit
pocket
more.
passer. Yeah, yeah, and it's very interesting. With Jackson Dart, like there's game like that game, like he actually played really well. Like I'm not saying he played, superstar. He was the reason why they should have won the game. The defense played so bad at the end, and the fact of and I understand like you can't throw a pick, but he's got to be able to protect the ball at the end. Like, hey, don't let because that's what changed the game. And we're just watching how insane that ending was to a game like that. Like it was, I was more I think I was more surprised of how bad the Giants played at the end defensively because I understand conservative play calling. You don't want to turn the ball over. So I understand stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Brian DeBose seems like he's really loving his quarterback. Um, Calling good games, honestly. I mean, they lost in a very bad way. That defense really gave it up at the end. Um, Considering how good that pass rush is supposed to be, a little surprising that they were able to go down the field so easily on that last couple minutes, last minute, whatever it was. Um, Clutch play by Bo Nix, clutch play by Jackson Dart. They both played. That fourth quarter was exciting, good football. Um, just Broncos ended up coming away with it. That's how it goes sometimes.
It should have been a win in the Giants column, but at the end of the day, the reason why it's 4 quarters and you got to play all six. They say you got to play all 60 minutes because it's hard. It's crazy seeing probable comebacks, but boy, you saw the one of the biggest ones, you know, almost like ever just by that when you're up 25-8 and 5.5 5 minute 5:18 left to go and now you lost 30 like 33-32. Like I'm like if I'm a Giants fan, I would be absolutely livid, genuinely livid of how horrible you played at the end of that game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the offense put it all out there. Defense doesn't come up at the last second. Another actually good game, which kind of surprising. Honestly, I really thought Packers were going to take it away when I saw Kyler Murray not playing. I'm not a big Kyler Murray believer, but Jacoby Brissett, I really didn't think was going to go in there and do much more. But I mean, it ended up being 27-23. Um, both both quarterbacks were decent. I mean, Jacoby Brissett played a really good game in my opinion. He made some decent throws. Again, game came down to the wire. A lot of good close games. The Packers scored with a minute 50 left, and Arizona had the chance to win at the end, but Packers defense stood tall at the end. Opposite, it was like the same game going on, but the opposite result.
Yeah, it was actually interesting because Micah Parsons had a phenomenal game, 3 sacks. Um, a lot of teams double team him for a reason, and the Cardinals were like, we're gonna try to solo you. Didn't work out for them, but I this game makes me question how great or how good the Packers are because you would think a game like that with no Kyler Murray, you should have had that game handled, and you trailed the entire game besides at the end.
Mhm.
You know, like I felt like they should have handled them, and they straight up didn't. They just couldn't find a way to get it going until the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like you said, it's 60 minutes, right? Got to play 60 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just like, and that's what happens. I mean, when your team just you have to when you're in games like that, you have to find ways to dig deep and dig and dig and dig. Like whether offensively, if you're the Packers, or defensively, if you're the Cardinals, it's just like it's hard to. I don't know how good the Packers are. I'm not saying they're not a bad team, but are they a team that will get you to that will lose in the wild card, or are they a game or a team that you're going to see at the NFC Championship game? You know, because
Yeah,
defensively they can get you game defensively.
yeah. I'm curious. They're a team I'm gonna watch from here on out because it could go either way for me with them. They became instant favorites to win it all when they got Micah Parsons, but I'm still seeing some flaws in their game, and I don't know if that's you know what that has to do with, but I'm still seeing that sort of. I feel like truly a contender, you gotta handle the Cardinals with a backup QB. Lay down.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like I want to see how what happens honestly with the Packers. Like, and for what it's worth with Kyler, when he's had a good, good a good coach, he's been able to lead his team to the playoffs. Like I'm not saying he's been a bad quarterback, but he can lead the team. He's led his team to a few playoff appearances. So it's gonna be interesting what they do, with them. What goes on from Arizona? Are we? Are you still? Do you still the NFL?
Sorry, repeat that.
Are you still gonna protest the NFL for 2 Monday night games?
I should. I should. Um, because that's a 10 p.m. game on the East Coast is crazy. Texans Seahawks. Decent actually turned into a decent game. I really thought the Seahawks should have handled the Texans pretty good considering how bad the offensive line is for the Texans, and how good the Seahawks have looked.
I was hoping to see the other way. Actually, I was hoping to see the Texans take a step forward, and I that was disappointed was one thing because it was just like, man, what is going on in Houston? Like, what is happening there? Like you after what they had, like with CJ, now all of a sudden like the regression. I mean, it's hard to live up to expectations like that every year to
Mm-hmm.
start, but still, like I'm curious to find out what goes on here. Are they? I wonder if they're going to trade for offensive linemen. I think they have to if they want to stay afloat.
I mean, 2-4. Texans are 2-4.
Oh, I love you not being muted.
Keep forgetting to click that button. Texans being 2-4. Um, they're playing a first place schedule. So they play the Niners next week, Broncos the week after, Jags the week after that, Titans the week after that. Then they play Bills, Colts, Chiefs. So I mean, it's a tough schedule. So they got some climbing to do.
Oh yeah, when you have a gauntlet row, when we have a gauntlet like that, you good luck trying to be 4-4 or like 3-3. It's hard. And I will say this, like going back to that Monday night game, I feel so bad for Mike Evans. What a fantastic receiver he is to essentially miss the entire year, the entire season, like chasing, want to be trying to you tie what I believe Jerry Rice for like the all time like 1,000 receiving yards in a season, and you have a chance to do it again, and now all of a sudden you're injured. It's like that's heartbreaking.
I agree. Keep talking though. I'll be right back. Keep talking about it.
Yep. Okay, good, good. Mike Evans. Where do you start with like a legend like that? He's he's been nothing but short of amazing. No one ever wants to give him the credit that he deserves. Like he's like, oh, he's never been a top 5 receiver, but he's been the most consistent receiver for the past 12 seasons. And I think you have to give someone like that their flowers, a Super Bowl champion. And at the end of the day, he deserves nothing short of appreciation for what he's done over the years as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer with the quarterbacks he had with Jameis Winston, Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know, Mike Glennon. Like, what does it say about Mike Evans? I think, deserves major, major props. And I wish he didn't get injured this year to see that. I wish he would have his own record to solidify himself as undoubtedly one of the best in the league to ever do it. Because he is. Consistency is key, health is key, and he's done that every year except for this year. He barely got 1,000 last year, but the fact that he now tied it and was essentially this season away from doing it to being a standalone, you know, there's an shadow of a doubt that he will be a Hall of Famer in this league.
I heard the last part of that, and I
You muted
agree.
yourself again.
I literally had it unmuted and then I clicked mute on accident. So I completely agree with you on that last part because I heard that. Um,
Okay. I
Bucks
hope every,
only score 9. Baker threw it 50 times, and the Detroit Lions scored 24. And I've heard a lot of bad. Like, I didn't watch the whole game all the way through. I need to actually. I'll probably watch the highlights today, but I did see that I heard the officiating was a little.
it was the fishing was very questionable, but also at the same time, Baker, if you watch the game, he overthrew a lot of guys. Like, he didn't play like like the MVP, like the MVP campaign he's had. Like on Monday night. Like Monday night, he overthrew a lot of guys, and there were a bunch of questionable calls throughout that game. So
Um, really, one thing I'll say about the Bucks, and I feel like this is kind of where the problem's coming from. Not a problem. All of their wins, except the one against the 49ers, are one score.
they've
Uh,
also won the last. They've also won the last minute a bunch of those games, like Seattle last minute, the Jets last minute. Like, and for what it's worth, like I said, a few minutes ago, play all 60 minutes. Doesn't matter. Like, and for what and Baker, and it hasn't because of Baker. Like, they played well, like regardless of how. Like, for example, they played bad, against against Detroit, but for what it's worth, Tampa is still a good team offensively. It's their defense that's the question mark.
I'm curious how they do the offense with Mike Evans out. That's huge.
I mean, especially with like Godwin being injured, Noe Mecca, Ibuka, like you're bringing off Tez Johnson, I believe Odden, as well. Like, they've been able to do it with these other guys, and it's funny when you talked about the Bucks earlier this year. You talked about how they were like having probably one of the best receiving cores in the league because of their depth, and boy, have they shown it. Because when you have your top three receivers out, and Ibuka, you know, Godwin, and now Mike Evans again. It's brutal. It's brutal to watch. And I believe Mike Evans had like a a broken collarbone, I believe, or
Yeah, I
clavicle.
haven't looked at the official report, but I do think he's out for the
Yeah, like, I think he had a broken clavicle or something like that, or broken collarbone, excuse me. But yeah, it's hard. Like, I wish he got the respect he deserves for the past 12 years he's been in the league.
year.
He deserves a credit.
Bunch of 1,000 yard seasons to show for it too. You don't do that being bad.
Well, it's not about being bad. It's about the consistency is the one, and the other ones is who your quarterbacks have been. And I mentioned it earlier when you had to reconnect. You had Josh McCown, Jameis Winston, Mike Glennon, Ryan Fitzpatrick. You've had a bunch of guys to go in there, and every year you've gone 1,000 yards with those guys, every single time. Like, yeah, again, yeah, Tom Brady, obviously, but I'm talking about the other guys, that they've had.
I mean, to to your point, consistency, and I talk about this with Trevor a lot. Consistency is what makes the great players great because they don't have the off days. They don't have the what is that guy doing? Like, I mean, granted, I'm sure he's had drops. I'm sure he's had games where he didn't get more than 30 yards. Like, I get that. But throughout a whole season, you can count on this guy to get you down the football field 10 times worth of yards. Like, that's crazy. Quarterbacks normally throw, like in a really good year, 35 to 45 touchdowns. And you got him down the field by yourself 10 times.
But my biggest thing with him is no one ever puts him in that top five conversation. Well,
Yeah.
he's never had over 100 receptions. He's never been the league leader. Like, it doesn't matter. That's the thing. Like,
Mhm.
he's how many? Like, look what he's done. He tied Jerry Rice. When is that respect there for him? When are you gonna get what will it take for him to have his own like a 13 years of 1,000 receiving yards? Like no one's ever gonna give him that because like he was never top five in his position. He was never this. He never led the league in this. He never led the league in yards after catch or catching like yards per catch. It's like it's always gonna be something against him, and I think he deserves so much more after for what he's done consistently year after year after year after year after year.
Yeah,
And
and
like I
I
said,
mean,
with
who in the league right now is that consistent?
I mean, if you're asked like for over the past few years, I mean, like the only other people I think you can really have in those conversations have been Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
Mhm.
Like, what other guys can you put in having 1,000 yards consistently over those time frames? You know?
Yeah, and I mean, you can even say, I mean, they've been lucky with injuries, but even Jefferson missed time from injury. Mike Evans has had really good. I don't know if it's luck or he just knows how to take care of his body or whatever the case may be. But he's had to not just have that many consecutive 1,000 yard seasons, but to stay healthy to do that for that many consecutive seasons.
And the one, yeah, absolutely. And what I was saying to you again, like when you had to reconnect was like he's a bona fide Hall of Famer. There's no way he's not. And people, a lot of people were like, "Well, I would choose this guy. I would choose, prime DeAndre Hopkins, or I would choose prime. I would choose Jamar Chase over, Justin Jefferson." It's like you're picking the flashy players, but like a guy like him has been able to do it with a bunch of different quarterbacks. Like even DeAndre Hopkins has done it with a bunch of different quarterbacks, but not to the same level as Mike Evans of consistent 1,000 yards, consistent for over a decade. Like it's hard to do that. Antonio Brown's prime was I think 6 to 8 years. Like you know, like I believe like 2013 to 2019 or 2014 to 2019 something like that. Like 5 6 years. And he was like one of the greatest receivers on the planet. But still, like Mike Evans has outlasted that. Mike Evans is that's what I said. I wish Mike Evans got the credit that he deserves.
Well, I mean, he
Like,
also did that with AB on his team, with Godwin on his team. Like he's had to share the ball.
yeah, and he's still getting those 1,000 yards. That's what's the most impressive. It's like you said, Baker. Like looking back, and you had Baker, Tom, Jameis Winston, like Mike Lennon, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like you've had a ton of quarterbacks down there, and he's still doing it. And it's you got to give him all the credit in the world. I give that man a lot of credit because, like you said, taking care of his body is I think the biggest thing for him. That has to be at this point.
Yeah, and the last game of the week was the Falcons versus the Niners. And well, it wasn't the last game of the week, but it's the last game we're talking about. It's a Sunday night football game. Falcons now 3-3 after losing to the 5-1 or 4-2 team at the time. Now they're 5-2, and San Francisco is in a dogfight for the division with the Los Angeles Rams.
Who do you see pulling out of the division, the Rams or the 49ers?
That's tough because I think the Niners are playing really good football right now, but I also think the Rams are playing really good football. Rams to me so far have had the easier schedule. I think you're going to get a good benchmark because you're going to see the Rams play the Bucks. You're going to see the Seahawks are in that division too. Damn, I didn't think of that. I just
Right there. They're all 5-2 except for Arizona. Arizona's 2-5. They're all 5-2.
That's crazy because I completely forgot that they were all three in the same division. So I didn't mean to disrespect Seattle there because Seattle's definitely in contention. Um,
They
I
are, but I personally believe they're not there yet. When it comes down to the lineup, who do I trust the most? For me, it's Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, and that defense. That I trust them. And then Puka Nakua, I'm trusting, and Devontae Adams, I'm trusting the Rams over the Seahawks, and I'm trusting the Rams over the 49ers. And the more reason why I'm trusting the Rams over the 49ers is because of health. Fred Warner's out for the year. Ayuk is, injured. Brock Purdy's been in and out of the lineup. You know, I choose the Rams in that division to pull it out at the end.
I I respect that. I really don't know who because we've played all three of them, so it's like I've got to watch all three of them. I do think that from a coaching standpoint, I think Sean McVay, cream of the crop. I think he's one of the best coaches in the National Football League. I do like Shanahan, but I see where his offense is always like really good. Doesn't matter if their team's injured, doesn't matter what happens. Like they always come out and they act like they've prepared for the week of football. So I'm not knocking him when I say Sean McVay is like up there as like one of the best coaches in football. I think Kyle Shanahan also one of the best coaches in football because he does deal with all those injuries and stuff. But like you said, that's where the fall off is when you're missing your two best defenders for the rest of the year. You're missing Nick Bosa for the rest of the year. You're missing Fred Warner. She agrees with me. We're all missing them the rest of the year. Okay? Rams, younger team, so they're not dealing with those injuries. You just watched them drop 35 points without Puka.
Yeah, and that's why I trust them. Like, like you said. In my pool I picked the Jags because of the Puka Nakua news. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe Stafford might have a they have Devontae Adams. I assume that they were gonna the Jags were gonna play better against Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams had a hat trick, and touchdowns. But that's besides the point. Like I thought, like the Jags were gonna pull it out, but watching what the Rams did, I think the Rams are just gonna win that division. I don't think it's gonna be close. Personally, I think it's gonna. I think it's their. In my opinion, even though 3 of the 4 teams are 5-2, I think it's their division to lose. For what it's worth.
That's fair. I mean, I am curious because I'm like we saw it with Sam Darnold last year. I think no matter what, the entire season, everybody's gonna expect some sort of a fall off from Sam Darnold eventually. And whether that happens or not, I have no idea because, like I said, last year is different than this year. Different scheme, different everything. There's gonna be one of those days.
With with Sam Darnold, it's not about for me. It's not about the fallout for him. I think it's about late in the year because you saw it with the Seahawks and you're seeing it now. You're seeing him play so well throughout the season. It's the back end. What are we going to see on the back end of that? That's my question. Are we going to see the collapse, or are we going to see him play the way that he plays all year?
Yeah, I mean that's like I said, that's the big question. Yeah, even when I muted my mic, they were so crazy. I think they need to go out, so this will probably be the next couple minutes. And then 49ers have been taking care of business though.
Yeah, they have. They've been actually. I mean, they've been taking care of business and slowly kind of going back to who they are. You know, but when you have Fred Warner out for the year, it's kind of hard to have any sort of normalcy for them defensively.
Daisy, come here.
It's I do wonder how this is going to be for them on the back end. I wonder how they're going to play. I'm intrigued from because you don't know what you're going to get from Brock Purdy and them boys in San Francisco.
Trying to.
You want to do? I mean, you want to do some picks, and then we can head on out of here.
Yeah, let's do rapid fire picks real quick for next week. We got through all the week 7 games. Really bad 1 p.m. slate. Hopefully that doesn't happen this week. But let's go rapid fire. Week 8 of the NFL season starts tomorrow. It might be today when I might post this Thursday.
Let me know.
So we got Vikings versus Chargers Thursday night football. Calm down.
Kill me, because it's the battle of injuries and battle of the injuries. So I don't know who to trust. I like Brian Flores, but after what I saw from the Chargers last week, I feel like the Chargers need this one, right? I feel like the Chargers but at the same time, I think if the pressure gets to Justin Herbert, if the pressure gets to the Chargers, I think I'm picking the Vikings on this one.
Man, my picks on Thursday night, I'm like 0 for 7. I'm literally 0 for 7 on picks on Thursday night. I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. I agree. This is a bounce back game for them. It's in, it's in Los Angeles. Wait.
LA.
LA, yeah.
LA. How about this? I'll do this. Well, how about I pick the games while you say muted because of the dogs? You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we got Dolphins at Atlanta. Me personally, I think at this point with the Dolphins, I think I trust the Falcons more here. I think it's going to be like a 27-17 type game. I don't think it's going to be relatively close. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout either. But I got the Atlanta Falcons here.
Yeah, I've got the Atlanta Falcons too. It's in Atlanta. Dolphins have been terrible, and the Falcons defense, like I said, it's a legit defense.
All right, Bears at Baltimore. Lamar Jackson returned to practice today, and so it's gonna be interesting. Can the Ravens defense actually show up and stop Caleb Williams? And it'll be very interesting to see what happens here. It's hard for me to believe to see the Ravens go down 1-6. Like it's one of those things where I told you about the Chiefs when they were, like, oh, can they go down, 2-4 or 3-3? It's one of those things for me. I have to see it to believe it. So I got the Ravens here.
I'm
You're muted. There you go.
I'm actually going to pick the Ravens as well. I'm in the same boat as you, where as bad as they've been on defense, it's hard to fathom them going with one win into week 8, right? I don't see them going into week 9 with one win. As much as I think the Bears are on the up and the Ravens defense has been terrible, they've still got injuries throughout. I cannot see them going 1-8.
1-6, but yeah.
Yeah, 1-6. Wait. 1-6. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why. They had their bye?
Yeah, they had their bye last
week.
Yeah, the Ravens had their bye last week.
Okay. Yeah, so I have it hard to believe that they go 1-6. I can't even imagine an NFL season with them being 1-6. That's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And next up, we have the New York Jets at Cincinnati. I got the Bengals here. I think, I believe the Jets are starting Tailor. And after the game they had last week, I think there's momentum in Cincinnati right now. And if Joe Flacco keeps it afloat, I think what's going on in New York, I think it's just, mediocrity. Like there's, nothing new, nothing good. And so I got Cincinnati here pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. It's in Cincinnati. We just watched them go against the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and defense. The defense played decent. I mean, I don't think the 2 picks that they got on Aaron Rodgers were, they weren't really because of the QB, in my opinion. To see the Bengals do that on defense when they came into the season with low expectations for their defense, to do that against Aaron Rodgers, now going up against probably Tyrod Taylor, I could see their defense getting a couple turnovers. I could see that being a low score game for the Jets. And can the Jets cover both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? Another week with Flacco. I find it very hard to believe that the Bengals are going to lose this game after what they just did against Pittsburgh. Give me the Bengals.
Yeah, and I perfectly understand, all that reasoning with why you picked, the Bengals. Next up after that, we have the Bills at Carolina. I have the Bills straight up, no Bryce Young this week. I think Josh Allen takes care of business on the road. and I think they win this one. I'm not gonna say like definitively, but I think this should be a game that should be able to handle. And if I will say this, if Carolina pulls off the upset, I will be very, very concerned what's going on in Buffalo.
I'm gonna agree with you on this because I think it's gonna be really tough for them to lose to this team with Andy Dalton at quarterback. Again, I don't think Bryce Young is that much better than Andy Dalton. I'm not saying it because of that. I just a backup quarterback coming in who's only had very limited reps with the ones. That's a bad look for the Bills if they lose to the Panthers. And no disrespect to I'm really not trying to disrespect the Panthers. I think anybody that's an NFL fan, even some Panthers fans, would say if the Bills lost to this Panthers team, there's reason to really question the Bills if you're a Bills fan. To be 4-3 after playing some of the teams that they've had to play up to this point, playing the Falcons, playing the Patriots, playing the Dolphins, the Saints, the Jets, the Ravens, who have been really bad. Granted, that was week 1, but it's like you're playing teams. If you went through and looked at their combined record, they've only played two teams with winning records.
Yeah, and when you play only two teams with winning records, are you really that well of a good team? Like, or are you just you're as good as your record says you are, but at the end of the day, when you come down to play those really good teams, it's gonna it's gonna defy you if you are one of those teams or you're not one of those teams. So, and then we're rolling right after that, we have the San Francisco 49ers at Houston. Me personally, I got the 49ers here. Like, I just think that right now they're getting the right pieces back. And like I said, I know that Fred Warner's been hurt, but when you have Brock Purdy back there and their offensive line plays well, it's hard for me to pick against, Brock Purdy and them.
Is Brock Purdy back?
You just muted
I
yourself.
know.
There you go.
Sorry. Is Brock Purdy back?
I believe he is.
Oh, he is starting to practice. Okay.
You muted
He
yourself.
he is starting to practice. Damn, I forgot I was just talking. Um, yeah, he is limited at practice, so there is a chance that he plays. I'm personally here. This might be. No, I'm gonna go with the 49ers. I'm gonna go with the 49ers here.
Okay. I can see why Texans can win that game too. Like they're at home. It's a 1 o'clock at home. Anything can happen. Browns Patriots. I think personally, if I personally believe this, if Quinshon Judkins has a game like he did last week, I think the Browns can pull this game off. But I personally, I personally believe that Drake May and the Patriots are on a roll right now. I got the Patriots in this one.
I'm actually gonna agree with you, and pretty much if I was gonna address it, I would do the exact same thing you said. If Judkins can go out there and rush for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, like kind of what he's been capable of doing the past couple weeks, I could see them pulling off an upset here. But I really think New England's been playing some good football. They've played some bad opponents too, so I mean it's not all you can see her too. That's why I'm like I know they got to go out in a minute. But I'm gonna go with the Patriots here. It's in New England, and I think there's a huge quarterback difference in this game.
Yeah, like a rookie quarterback versus Drake May, you know, or even the Patriots, all together. They've won 4 straight, and if they win here, they'll make it 5. And like I said, I like the Patriots here. After that, we have the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. I got the Eagles in this one. I think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles deserve. Oh, look at the puppy. Anyways, I got the Eagles here. I think they need to bounce back after. I'm pretty sure last time they played New York, they left a bad taste in their mouth, and I think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles pull this one out because they need this one. I think for the Giants, I think right now after that, I don't think they're going to play like the way they did defensively collapse. I just think personally, I think the Giants are just not as good as the Eagles are right now.
Yeah, this is tough because the Giants have beat the Eagles this year. It was a Thursday night game though, so I mean, you Thursday night games have been kind of crazy. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles as well. I think they're gonna slowly figure it out. I think the Giants, like I said, I'm I like the way Jackson Dart's playing, but I think that his style of play currently, with him trying to hit guys and not go down, I really think that's going to bite him in the butt one of these days. Um, so I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think also for what it's worth, you know, Giants got really lucky, I would say, the first time because the Eagles were in the right place where they were on like this past week, where Jalen Hurts had like perfect QBR. I just think it's a division game, so anything can happen here. I just believe at this point, I think I believe they split 1-1. I don't think the Giants beat them. I'll be very very surprised if they beat them twice. After that, we have Tampa Bay at New Orleans, another division game. I got the Bucks here. I think for what it's worth, I trust Baker and that team. Like if Baker, I think Baker has a bounce back game. I think the Bucks play overall better. They're also playing, Spencer Rattler, who hasn't been the problem in New Orleans, but when you have a 5-2 team and how Baker's been playing, essentially one bad game this year, and I know I had a bad game against the Eagles at the end, but I got the Bucks here winning this one.
Yeah, I got the Bucks winning this one too. It is in New Orleans, which does help. But again, Bucks are playing good football. I mean, they only scored 9 against the Lions, but it's against Detroit. Like, um, Saints have been playing decent football. So I mean, this is another one of those games actually that wouldn't surprise me if it went the other way because it's a division game. 4 o'clock window. Tampa Bay's coming off a rough loss. They lost Mike Evans. So I mean, I'm not gonna be.
No,
Dude,
no Bucky Irving this week.
no Bucky Irving, which I do. I think that's been a difference maker actually in their past couple games. So I don't have. I mean, I have the faith in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but like I said, Saints have been playing decent football. So Mike Evans out, Bucky Irving out. They're missing those pieces. I do have Tampa Bay, but I wouldn't be shocked if Tampa Bay won. I
I agree. I
Again, I wouldn't
definitely
be
agree.
surprised if Saints won. Sorry, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you meant there. I won't be surprised if the Saints won. After that, we have another division game, AFC South. It's the Titans at Indianapolis. I think it's fair to say from essentially both of us that the Colts are probably going to win this one.
Yeah, this is another one. I wouldn't be surprised if Indy dropped 40, kind of in the what they've been doing, dropping over 30 points. I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans scored 10, 13, 14 points. I think the Colts are the better football team. I think they're the better coached football team, obviously, with Mike McCoy being the interim. But Shane Steichen has. I was always a believer in Shane Steichen, personally. Won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as an offensive coordinator, then goes out to Indy where he gets Anthony Richardson, which I understand where he was coming from with the pick. You had Jalen Hurts. You're hoping Anthony Richardson would be slightly more athletic. Jalen Hurts, but he's injury prone, can't read a defense, all the bad stuff that quarterbacks need to be able to do. You're kind of handicapped to him. You go out get Daniel Jones, who had an up and down career, mostly down in New York. He did make a playoff appearance, so it's like you saw the potential if he has a good roster around him with Daniel Jones, right? Like he made a playoff, he won a playoff game with Brian DeBoll. Now you're
In
seeing,
Minnesota.
and yeah, exactly. He won a good playoff game, so it's like you have a good. I don't want to call you had a winnable QB if you built the right pieces around him and had the right coaching around him. You have that in Indy. So I kind of always knew I cannot probably pull up receipts on Twitter where I was like, I wouldn't sleep on him. I'm not saying he's going to be great, but I wouldn't sleep on Daniel Jones because, like I said, I watched it in 2022 when he made the playoffs. So it's not like it's out of this world that he's on a good roster, good coach, um, that he's winning games.
I will say with Daniel Jones, he's also not being asked to do everything.
Yeah.
He's not forced to run the ball, throw the ball essentially, and when it gets all too much for him, I think that's when the mistakes happen for him, and that's my belief. And I think a lot of Giants fans would say like they would put a lot of blame on him because they did choose him over Saquon. 4 years, $140 million. I mean, or $160 million, one of the two. But still, you can't have. I mean, when he gets asked to do everything, you can't expect to win. Um, Moving on from that, we have, my personal opinion, the best 4 o'clock game of the afternoon: the Dallas Cowboys at the Denver Broncos. I personally believe, after watching how the offense played in the last 5 minutes of that game, I I I think I'm picking Dallas here, because it's not what they did at the end for me for the Broncos. It's about the first 3 quarters. And if you give the Cowboys those first 3 quarters with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Javonte Williams at the end, the running back, I just don't see how you guys can come back in that game, especially if you let the Cowboys go up. I got the Cowboys here. I think I just trust them after what I saw from them this past week. So I think they're on the right track. So that's just
I
me.
so I'm actually agreeing with you on this. I think the Cowboys offense is far better than the Denver Broncos offense. And I think the defenses aren't as far apart as maybe stats might show, or I think Bo Nix has struggled this year, and I think that's going to help Dallas's defense out in this game. And I think the Broncos have obviously allowed points, right? Like, if you look at, like, even look at the Jets game where they played in London, and they didn't allow a lot of points, but their offense couldn't score. And it's like, okay, the Jets defense is obviously better than the Cowboys defense, but they got good field position multiple times. Justin Fields wasn't, he threw for 50 yards. It's like you couldn't score more than 11 points when you had an opposing quarterback only throw for 48 yards.
Yeah, well, it's funny because actually, like, at the end of the day, like, with with what it was, they played well in the first quarter, didn't do much in the second and third, and had to come back on the final drive and pull it out at the end. So yeah, like, that's why that's why I got Dallas here. I think Dallas, with how well the offense plays, and if that offense gets up front and you can't like, I don't think you're catching up to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm moving on from that. If you have anything else to say about them,
No,
but
I'm good.
I got, all right, the Sunday night game, Green Bay at Pittsburgh. I got the Steelers here. Like, it's not even by my bias. I think, when you have a division
Great cheese.
game, it's always going to be interesting. It's always going to be up and down. I think the defense bounces back here. I think they play a lot better. I think, Rodgers gets one over his old team. And I will say this: I'm not like I will say this: if I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers win this one, if they let Micah Parsons go 1-on-1, because Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu do, like, they are younger guys. There's been times where I've seen them both get beat, you know, especially Broderick Jones. And they also like to move, Micah Parsons around a lot. He'll rush a guard, he'll rush a tackle. You know, I'm very interested in see what happens here. I got Pittsburgh. I got my Steelers pulling this one out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with you on this. So I think what the big deciding factor is gonna be how the offensive line protects Aaron Rodgers in this specific game. And Pittsburgh, actually, that's where I think they've had the best improvement, actually. Obviously, the quarterback play this year is better for the Steelers than it was last year. But I think the offensive line really has been performing really good compared to last year, where it's like they're using there are six blockers. They've got Darnell Washington as an essential extra blocker. They don't have a great wide receiver core, so they're not forced to get seven guys targets like on typical teams where your wide receiver one's getting 8 catches, your wide receiver two's getting 7. They only have 2 guys that they really need to throw it to, or 3 if you count, DK, Pat Fryermuth, and Jonnu Smith. Like, that's really who you have to get the touches to. So you can keep Darnell Washington in to block for you. So, like, you're gonna chip with him, or he can line up against Micah Parsons and actually block it.
Well, what's interesting about watching the Steelers, they've got five. They got their 5 guys. Then they've had Spencer Anderson come in. They've had Darnell come in. Now we essentially have 7 blockers. Calvin Austin's back this week.
Yeah.
It's going to be, like, I think, for what it's worth, I think the Steelers can get this one at home. I think they need it more. The Packers they just came off a win. They're feeling good about themselves. But right now, I think the Steelers need it more, and I think Rodgers can beat them. And for what it's worth, I think for as it is right now, I love seeing Roman Wilson on the field against Cincinnati. I'm finally glad they got him in there. I hope they keep him in there. Like you said, they throw to
Brendan.
DK, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington. Pat Frymuth had a phenomenal game against Cincinnati. So that's why I got my Steelers here on this one. And the last game, last but certainly not least, this I would say would be much more interesting if Jane Daniels was healthy. The Washington Commanders at Kansas City. I got the Chiefs winning, and it's only because of right now after what they did to the Raiders, they're feeling good about themselves. Offense is finally getting healthy. No Jaden Daniels in this one. I got this one. I got Chiefs over the Commanders, and I personally don't think it's gonna be close.
Yeah, I think we actually agreed with every single pick, if I'm not mistaken. Because I've got the Chiefs winning this football game too. They have finally started clicking on offense to where they're with Xavier Worthy out there, Rashi Rice, Travis Kelsey, Isaiah Pacheco. Everybody's fully healthy. Everybody's not suspended. So they're playing. They're finally all together. Rashi Rice scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, Raiders are a bad football team. So
Yeah,
I'm not buying all my stock in the Chiefs because of one game. I've seen it coming. They played a good game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Like it was a good game. They just had that pick six that really sealed it. And they kind of gave up on that last play to let. I think they let Trevor. I think a couple guys thought it would be a good idea to let Trevor Lawrence score on that final play because get it back to Mahomes' hand with 30 seconds left and all your timeouts. Like that's not a bad decision.
there's
So
always
they did have a couple guys that looked like they were trying to tackle him. So I mean, who knows? Maybe the coaches said no, we can stop them. They were down four, or we were down four, so it's like force them to do it, whatever. Uh, but regardless, they've been playing good football. Their defense obviously held the Raiders to 3 first downs. I think they have potential to do that against the Commanders with Marcus Mariota in. And I know Scary Terry and Debo were out last week. Are they healthy this week?
I don't I don't think so, but for what it's worth, I don't see the Chiefs even stopping them for 3 first downs again. I just think it's that improbable. I also think that since Mariota's more mobile, like he's a mobile quarterback, I just don't see them stopping them for three. I would be very surprised if they do it back to back weeks. Like I would be very, very shocked. But yeah, no, I just
Hey,
think
Chiefs.
I think it's Kansas City to lose.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will be placing. I place a dollar bet every weekend on the my picks, right? So I'll be placing pretty much everything we just said. I'll probably do 3 lineups or 3 picks for the week where I'll do exactly what we did. I'll probably change like 2 of the picks for one of them where it's like, okay, maybe the Browns upset the Patriots, so I'll do that on a ticket. I'll do probably Bucks to lose to the Saints on one ticket because I could see that. Yeah, or maybe Broncos, the Broncos Cowboys game. Maybe I'll switch that up. Um, but pretty much I'm gonna put these tickets in. Um, Come here, cheese.
I think we disagreed on the Vikings and the Chargers. I think the Vikings. The reason why I said that is because if the pass rush gets home for the Vikings and their both tackles are out, it's gonna be a long day again for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I do under I did that makes sense. Yeah, and I do think we changed. I think I said Chargers, right?
Yeah, you said Chargers. Yeah.
Okay. So one team really, and I mean we pretty much had the same ideas for everything on the games that were maybe flip flopped, where it's like, okay, well, this team does have a chance. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe that Bears Ravens game is looking. Again, I know we're both saying can't see them
Ravens. Yeah.
going 1-6, but Bears have looked decent. So, Roman, thanks for joining. We'll do this again in the next couple days. Um, if you have anything you'd like to say, throw out your hat, whatever.
Oh no, I was gonna say I will say this. It's one of those things for me with the Bears. Like it's not that I don't have faith in the Bears. I think I have more. I just believe in Harbaugh more. You know, and yeah, Instagram Roman.31901 is where you can find me. So that's
Awesome.
it for me.
Well, it's been fun, it's been real, and it's been real fun. So we will see you guys in the next couple days. I'll remember follow me on Twitter at ItzyandD, and I'll be posting when the next video will drop. Follow me, subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. So maybe one day we will get paid for this. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.